I pretty much concur with what everyone said. I think maybe the one other insight I would give is that the political will to do a minimum support program is generally greater than it is to do a direct subsidy. And I mean, if I could use Scott's example, I mean, I think food stamps in the US are a great example of that. And as another smaller site, the food stamp program actually comes under the Farm Bill, I believe, which is a bit of an anomaly. But you know, basically, if you're a voter, you're quite happy for the government to provide welfare to the less privileged, but you want to make sure that those funds are not being spent on beer and cigarettes. So that's kind of how the whole food stamp program came about. But the reality is that it's a much more efficient delivery mechanism to just give those people money and let them decide, because you know they know what's going to increase their welfare much better than the government does. And the same thing is kind of true with you know with farm subsidies as well. Is that the farmers are best placed to determine what they should be spending their funds on, whether that's seed or whether that's their children's education. And then the last point we are going to make is that I think we also need to make a distinction between what sort of producer direct subsidies there are. There's the new China model, which is basically a top-up subsidy, so you've got to keep producing costs and then you get a top-up, which I think is kind of what most people were sort of referring to. Or there's the more extreme but more economically efficient, which is the sort of US and EU idea of a set-aside, where you don't even have to grow any cotton anymore, but if you were a cotton farmer, you now qualify for an annual stipend. And that's very politically kind of challenging to get across, because it is that you're now paying farmers to do nothing. But it is actually it's the least market disruptive. So anyway, I guess to wrap it all up, I mean, there are huge amounts of challenges with going to a direct subsidy program, but I think as a free marketeer, it's a direction that I would probably support going down. Okay, thank you.
Terry, if I have one comment to make. Okay. My comment is on my individual capacity, not from the industry or.
Sorry. The stage. Got to come forward.
Okay.
Got to literally stand here on the stage.
You know, calling me near the stage means that's what I have been shy of. Never. I don't want to be on the stage, but since I have stood up to give my comment.
Yeah, but if we are hearing the speakers, the resonance is such that we can't hear.
Okay, talk to you, yes, that's right. So my comment is on my individual capacity, not from any industry or from the segment where I belong to. This subject of subsidy and minimum support price is a very complex subject. Right from Doha round, the world, the experts in WTO, everybody has been trying to crack this particular thing, including, you know, the green box subsidies and all, and you have been very much involved in that. Somehow it's been, you know, like, I would say it's very difficult because the stakeholders are many. The cotton growing countries across the world are more than 40, 50. To me, the most commendable job is done by Australia, where they don't involve into any of the subsidy, and that is the thing. If we all can learn from there, or if we can reach to that level. But having said that, it is not simple. I am not an expert again on subsidies and all. What I have observed, the various deliberations and various media and hearing people in the industry, what I mean to say in India, minimum support price is a good tool available to the farmer. In the entire supply chain of the cotton textile industry, I believe the Indian cotton farmer is most vulnerable. When he decides to put the cotton versus any other product, he does not know how much he is going to grow, what is going to be to his production, and if he produces more, he is going to be put pressure on the prices, and if there was no MSP, he would be vulnerable. By any chance, by the vagaries of weather, when Indian cotton crop is dependent on the southwest monsoon, success of southwest monsoon, and if the crop fails, again, he is a loser. Okay, prices may go up, but he is not going to get compensated with all the losses which he has incurred. When I compare on a broader term, this mechanism where the fundamental of MSP has been that in the market, when the time when the prices, the crop is big, the government comes in and buys at a minimum support price, which is the calculation of cost of cultivation. Like what CCI demonstrated, that they did these MSP operations and they were regularly selling cotton. So I mean, what I say, if they were not selling regularly, last season we would have seen Shankar 6 prices crossing 45,000 rupees, but it never happened because they were releasing the stocks on a regular basis. So in a way, it's been balancing act. Going on a bigger picture, if I see the Indian farmer and the Indian cotton farmer, you know, he is party or he is involved in a supply chain where the import and export of cotton is free. Look at United States of America, imports are not free. Look at China, it is totally driven by quota. So if Indian farmer has to survive, or if we really believe in certain things which are level playing field, I think the openness of Indian export-import policy and versus the situation means this is not a big thing. There are direct and indirect subsidies which may be happening, but MSP does not happen every year. So, and one of the comment made by my colleague from the thing on soybean, that why MSP on soybean are not increased. The import duty on the soybean goes up to 40%, 30% depending on the supply-demand situation. Whereas there is nothing such thing which is a dynamic import duty mechanism into corn. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I think we've got to cut it off here. I think the points raised, there's concern about assurance of supply, making sure that farmers are producing cotton. Of course, protecting smallholders in times of volatility. And there's also this issue of level playing field. Other countries do it. The other side, there's concern about cost, about resource allocation. My concern about rent-seeking behavior, which is a fancy way of saying people squabble, and the misallocation of resources. So without having resolved the issue, certainly talking about it, let's give big thanks to our panelists for the presentation. We have a coffee break now, and we resume at 3:30 with our final session. And thank you to the panelists.
In the Indian subcontinent, and the session is chaired by Mr. Khwaja Tahir Hamid. Mr. Khwaja Tahir Hamid is the chairman of Karachi Cotton Association and the member of the Executive Committee of Federation of Pakistan Chambers of Commerce and Industry. Khwaja Tahir Hamid, partner of Shafiq Enterprises and proprietor of Copac International, has been engaged in cotton ginning, export-related logistics and business process outsourcing since 1980. He is also the CEO country head of Pakistan of Control Union of Pakistan Private Limited, which is a member of the Control Union Group with head office in the Netherlands, engaged in certification, inspection and collateral management, etc. Previously, Khwaja Tahir Hamid has served the Karachi Cotton Association for many years in various capacities, as well as being a member of the Executive Committee of Pakistan Cottons Union Association. He's also served as the Information Secretary of member of the Managing Committee of Karachi Customs Agent Association during various tenure, and has been a member of the Cotton International Agency Committee of the EPB, now known as the TTAP. Can we have a huge round of applause for Mr. Khwaja Tahir Hamid? Welcome, sir, and over to you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am pleased to announce opening of this last session of the current event, to be followed by cocktail and dinner. This is a very interesting topic. We are going to address the topic of efficiencies in the value chain, improving cultural practices in trading cotton in the Indian subcontinent, This is a very vast topic and would open up debates of hours and hours, but we have only 1.5 hours with us, or even lesser. So I would start right away. I would begin with introduction of the first speaker and panelist, Mr. Greg Wakefield. Greg Wakefield is the president of Wakefield Inspection Services. Greg has been in the cotton industry for over 25 years and focuses on WIS clients in the Americas. He has been a member of the International Cotton Association Rules Committee and is currently a member of the Board of Directors. Greg is also an associate member of the Foreign Affairs Committee of the American Cotton Shippers Association. Greg graduated from the Memphis Cotton School, where he is a regular guest teacher. And I welcome him to address and give us his valuable presentation and suggestions. Thank you.
Good afternoon. There we go. As so kindly introduced, my name is Greg Wakefield. I'm with Wakefield Inspection Services in Dallas, Texas. I'm the president of Wakefield there, and as you mentioned, I look after the United States and Central American markets. Initially, or firstly, I'd like to say a big thank you to the Cotton Association of India. It's truly a privilege to be asked to stand here and represent the controlling industry and to seek and try to find some efficiencies that we can offer our clients and our friends here in India. It is always a pleasure to come here, especially my first trip to Goa. I'd like to certainly thank Dhiren for allowing me to have this opportunity, so thank you very much. I was tasked with the subject of the efficient use of controlling the domestic cotton trade, domestic trade in the Indian subcontinent. And I thought about this subject for a few days and put this presentation together. I wanted to start by basically just going through a little bit of history of what a controller actually is. We've had the pleasure of working with a great majority of you in the room here, but for those who don't know what a controller is, I thought I would just take this quick opportunity to give an indication of what a controller is. I'll come down to the same thing. And then I'll break down the controlling industry in India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. And then I'd like to offer some thoughts on how a controller can create efficiencies within our segment of the industry. So what is a controller? I've been very fortunate over the last 10 years that I get to go to the cotton school in the US and educate a lot of the new generation of cotton traders and brokers and agents and teach them about the cotton industry and how we, as a controlling industry, take part in that. Traditionally, controllers were primarily and really only tasked with weighing cotton. So 50, 60 years ago, when my father and Rashid's father started in this industry, we basically weighed a bale of cotton, and that was it. Controller over the years has increased the number of services that it actually offers. A lot of these are listed up here on the screen, from supervision of weighing, sampling, drawing of samples, truck loading, sealing containers, moisture testing, tagging, stock verification, surveys, pre-shipment inspections. In the past, manual classing, a lot of that with microdata testing, but now with the advent of the HBI, SITC testing, also services and warehouse inspections, audits, and so forth. So weighing a bale of cotton is pretty easy, right? Well, when we started in our company, Wakefield, and I'm sure all of the other major controllers out in the world that do the same work that we do, when you have 8 or 9 million of these running through your business every year, it's kind of a lot of work. It requires a lot of people and a lot of accuracy to ensure that every bale is weighed correct. Sampling is also increased, obviously. Truck weighing and sealing containers, ensuring that the correct cotton actually goes into the containers, packing lists are correct, and so forth. It's quite vital and quite important these days. Spinners want to know exactly what bales are coming out of containers so that they can prepare their laying. Moisture testing. Excess moisture in the bales can be a very large and severe problem for a spinner. We have to be aware of that when tasked. We need to be, or have the ability to test the moisture of the bales. Truck weighing. With efficiencies, the subject of my speech today, we got away from bale without weight. Most of the cotton in the world now is weighed by truck scale in the vast majority of locations. But again, it seems like an easy task, but it's not. You know, in this picture here, you have a heavy truck full of cotton, and you have a light truck full of cotton. But there's one glaring problem with that. I don't know whether that tarp is in that truck that was weighed when it was light. It's probably 100 kilos. So there's 100 kilos of difference over an average of the bales that were in that shipment. That affects the weight. So we need to know these things. And then the advent of the HBI. Of course, that changed the world. We have all of the characteristics of cotton now readily available for the spinning mill to ensure that they get the correct bales that they desire for their laydowns. It helps the cotton producers with their breeding. It makes sure that they're getting accurately paid for the quality of cotton that they produce in the ground. Therefore, the controllers offer services in production and producing countries such as India, Australia, and so forth, Uzbekistan, where we test the cotton and provide the analysis of the HBI. Ginning operations, we can actually increase the efficiencies of gins through the results of the classing from the testing machine. Trading, obviously, a great deal of traders here, and hopefully a lot of cotton's being sold this last few days. We give objective quality information so that price discovery can be actually made on the cotton that's sold. And of course, with the spinning side, there's consistency in the laydown process and better yarn characteristics and improved quality, all from this one machine. But again, it takes a unique set of people to ensure that this is run correctly, the conditions are set to the international standards and run to USDA standards, and of course, now seeking ICA certifications. So what do we do in India that's special? Well, India is a unique market, obviously, as you know. You're inputting and exporting cotton. So a controller in India has two roles. With India being the largest now producing country in the world, and from the slides and presentations that I've been witness to over the last couple of days, the largest consumers close to it. It's very important that a controller has the presence here, which thankfully, over the many years and our great relationships with our friends here, we've been able to maintain. India produces short staple, medium long, long extra long, long staple cottons, and it's quite incredibly produces over 75 varieties, which are in cultivation here. 98% of those is made up of, 98% of the production is made up actually of only 25 distinct characteristics. And obviously, as you're quite well aware of the areas where cotton is grown here, controllers have to have a presence in those locations for the analysis, the weighing, loading, warehousing, and so forth. So on both domestic production, a controller will perform weighing, sampling, moisture testing, warehouse inspections, and at warehouses or in spinning mills. Controllers offer SICT testing for local cotton as well as testing issues within the subcontinent. If we have issues in Bangladesh or Pakistan or anywhere, we can send those samples to a central laboratory here to ensure that quality results are correct and actually disseminated to the parties that requested that service. We do stock checks for domestic markets and work very closely with banks. With the greater value of commodities, banks are financing more cotton, therefore they need a party or an independent party to ensure that those stocks are in certain locations and they can provide their financing against. Unfortunately, again, and now and again we have damage surveys. Nobody likes to see those, but we have to work with the insurance industry to ensure that any claims are settled. Bangladesh is a little different. Control has to adapt and offer a different kind of service in Bangladesh. Most or all cotton to Bangladesh is imported, stored in private ICD depots through the port area. Buyers actually appoint clearing agents to bring the cotton in their own controllers, and the suppliers will actually appoint the controller like Wakefield or SGS, ITS, and so forth to represent them, and we will work jointly with the locally appointed controller in Bangladesh. Most of the weighing is performed after fumigations and customs appraisal, if there is any. And after fixation of delivery date, then the controllers meet again, weigh the cotton, unload the cotton, and a little differently in Bangladesh, attend tearing if they decide to actually take the tear off the bales and weigh the tear. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Pakistan, again, different. We have to adapt. Pakistan was a very unique market back in the 70s. In 1971, CEC was formed, which introduced the CEC types. All Pakistan cotton at that point was sold basically on types, CEC types, and certified weights at origin. So there was really no presence for a controller at that time. Now, over the years, unfortunately, the types deteriorated, markets changed, the advent of HBI and manual classing became more prevalent, and in 1995, the CEC no longer existed. So controllers were actually became more of an integral part of the pre-shipment operation and export of cotton from Pakistan. Again, the private cotton was sold basically on private types, but more and more increasingly with HBI data. So as you can see, just in the subcontinent, the controller acts in many different ways. It's not just weighing a bale of cotton anymore. We're touching a bale of cotton at the ginning process. We're touching a bale of cotton in a warehouse. We're touching a bale of cotton in a laboratory for HBI analysis. We may be verifying a bale in a warehouse for a bank. We may be checking a warehouse for an insurance company. We could be weighing a bale of cotton for a merchant. We could be weighing a bale of cotton for a spinner. We encompass a lot larger area of the industry now and touch many different points in it. So how does that affect your business, and what can we as a group, as an industry, as a market segment offer to make that more efficient for the Indian subcontinent area and the world? I think you first have to go a little bit further than that to answer that question, and that is to see what the spinner actually requires. Because at the end of the day, that's your customer and that's my customer, and that's where we have to get cotton to, right? So what does the customer need? What does the spinning mill require? Well, they want contamination-free cotton, they want stronger fiber, more mature fibers, they don't want the short fiber and their short fiber content. They want low variability of fiber attributes from bale to bale. They want even running cotton, lower naps, lower organic trash, higher amenability to cleaning, low moisture, consistent weights. All of the attributes that you would think that they would require. So, in my opinion, as a controller, if we can achieve an understanding of how the textile industry in the subcontinent utilizes fiber and how quality is measured, this is the first step in creating an effective, efficient controlling function. By analyzing these touch points where a controller actually touches the cotton, I think it is important to create an e-solution for that. If you go back to what I was saying before, we touched cotton in the field, in the gin, by HBI analysis, through shipping documentation, packing lists, warehousing, insurance, banking, all of these different areas. This was supposed to work actually automatically, but I had Rashid gave me too many beers last night, and I never actually quite got it working, so this is your fault. So we're touching it in the field, at the gym, the HBI, in the warehouse, from a trader, on a vessel, through your brokers, and to your spinners. Each one of those touch points we have we have a piece of that pie, a piece of that data in our controller, in our system. So perhaps the controller, through touching all of these analytical, these data points, can provide an more efficient function for you as a trade to move your cotton. By utilizing cloud analytics and data centers and all of the information that a controller gathers at those certain points, I believe that we can enhance this industry and actually bring it a little further forward and make it more efficient for you and primarily for your end receiver who's actually receiving that cotton. And then this was all supposed to go very rapidly and make a very nice, pretty presentation at the end. And that's it. I'd like to say thank you very much for the opportunity here. It's been a pleasure actually to attend this event. What a beautiful, beautiful area this is. And I'd like to say thank you to the CAI for allowing us to be a part of this, and also congratulate the other speakers for such a wonderful and fantastic event. So thank you, sir.
We finished right on time. So I think we can invite a couple of questions before we move on to the next speaker. Thereafter, we will have a joint question answer session. Any questions? Yes, yeah. Mr. Rehan? Yes, please.
Over the past few years, Hi. Over the past few years, we witnessed a lot of training going to Pakistan, and recently,
Yes, due to this enclosed structure, we cannot hear properly. So if you can come up here.
yeah. So, like I said, over the past few years, we've had a lot of Indian coming to Pakistan, and especially coming in from the land route. My question is that over the recent 2-3 years, especially, we faced a lot of problems of weights from in the cotton coming in through the land route. That's, let's say, it could be stealing or whatever we can call that. But my question is, what have controllers such as Patefield and other remote controllers have done in this regard to avoid this kind of problem, to counter whatever is happening?
Counter issues is on. It's a very good question. Thank you. I can speak for Wakefield. Our primary responsibility in that is, and goal in that, is to ensure that we have the correct people doing the job and ensuring the weights are correct here in India before any truck or any cargo leaves. For me, the key point of that, though, would be to have an appointment on both sides. It's a little bit difficult if one controller is appointed to do a job in one country and another party in another country, because you can never ensure that you have the same quality of service on each end of it. So I would say key to that is ensure that you have the right people putting the bales in the container, sealing the container, and then when that cotton is weighed, it is done appropriately, and all the correct measures are taken to ensure that that's done accurately. The other is to ensure that when it arrives at destination, that the weighing takes place as quickly as possible and not delayed. Cotton is a porous fiber. If you move it to a dry area and leave it for a number of days, you have the potential to lose that moisture, and it can fluctuate in the weight. So, right people loading it, right people unloading it, and trying to get it done as quickly as possible.
Can you hear me? Now, that is a very touchy question, because we have seen these problems cropping up. It started last year, and this year the problems continued, and we haven't really found a solution to that. But till now, what has happened between Pakistan and India is that the sellers are thinking, Indian exporters are thinking that something is going wrong on the Pakistan side, while the importers, the mills, they are thinking that something is going wrong on the Indian side related to the port area, to the dry port area, Atari and Baba. My humble submission would be, instead of playing the blame game, I would hate to say that, but it is a sort of blame game. Let us focus towards the third party, not the third party inspection, but the third party who is doing the wrong thing, if at all. So we must be on the same side, the Pakistani importers and the Indian exporters, and all the people involved in it, which are the intenders and the controllers mainly. So we need to look at the weaker areas of the whole chain, which is the transporter, the clearing agents, the dry port authorities, the customs, and eventually I firmly believe that we will find the culprit, the people, the groups, the custodians of the goods in the transit who are involved in such kind of thing, because this is not genuine bid shorting and somebody is paying for the deeds done by others. So I would request the envoy and myself as chairman of the coalition, we can be doing this sort of collaboration wherein we are working together to find ways and means how to stop this nuisance and how to stop what is happening on the transit. We have known about some instances which go on, but we will talk later on after both the other speakers have done their presentation. Thank you. Now the time for our good friend Mr. Andrew McDonald. He comes with so many credentials that I would have liked to skip, but with Andrew we don't do that because he really deserves those credentials to be spoken of. Mr. Andrew McDonald worked for the Unge Group for 43 years, started in England. Hereafter cut his trading teeth in India, 7 years in Kolkata in the jute and jute goods trade, and 1 year in Mumbai trading castor oil. In 1968, Andrew was transferred to Argentina, then Brazil, with 2 years in the United States. He retired in 2002 as Board of Governors of Santisha Textile, responsible for all supplies, which included 120,000 tons of cotton per annum for the factories in Brazil, Argentina, and Chile. Today, Amcon Consulting, a cotton and textile consulting company, is owned and managed by it. Andrew is associated with a number of Brazilian and other international institutions relating to the cotton and textiles. He is a board member of the International Textile Manufacturing Federation, representing Brazil, and chairman of the Spinners Committee, chairman of the Task Force on Commercial Standardization of Instrument Testing of Cotton, past president and currently director of the International Cotton Association, to name a few. And today I also came to know he had been awarded some special recognition by Queen of England, which he can elaborate. I don't want to do that because I may mistakenly take the wrong name.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for that very fine introduction. It's all live, of course. Good afternoon, or good evening. Thank you for staying the course and being here still for this last session. As you've heard, I have certain titles, but today I want to talk a little bit about cotton class of instruments. I am chairman of the CSITC, which is the Commercial Standardization of Instrument Testing of Cotton, which is dedicated to promoting the use of instruments for testing cotton. I am on the Spinners Committee chairman, and we're also very keen on it. I'm also on the steering committee of a thing called the ICCTM, which is the International Committee for Cotton Testing Methods. So just to introduce it, this is my favorite subject. But before I start, where is the machine to change the slides? Thank you. What button do I press? This one? This one? Okay. So, as you see, I'm very old. And Mr. Kai Hughes, if he's not here, will tell you, will confirm that I'm very old. So I'm going to go back a little bit in history, if I can, if this works. Maybe I'm going to go around. How does it work? Now, how many remember using a telephone like that? Well, not even I remember that one. That's a bit far away. Well, this is telephone version 1.2, which came out in 1926, and I must admit I also was not there at that time. But when we come to the version 1.3, we're getting close to my age and the sort of telephone we used. Then in the 80s came telephone version 2, which was the first mobile phone, in which about 2% of the population maximum had this enormous machine for communicating. And then we moved into today with telephone version 3. And today, as you see, this is 100% available. In fact, the statistics show there are more smart telephones have been produced in the world than there are people. Many people got 2, some got 3, some people have thrown them away. It is an amazing situation in a short space of time. We have achieved this type of communication. And this is a genuine photograph of people waiting for a train. It's not a posed photograph, this is a photograph of people waiting for a train. Not a single person is not using their smartphone. But when the smartphone came out, we all thought, this is just for a few odd people, we'll have no future at all. Today, it is total integration in the internet market. It shares data, it supplies the whole supply chain, vertically and horizontally. Billions of people are online all the time. And in fact, even in India, India is the third online market in the world, with over nearly 200 million internet users, which is only just behind China and the United States. This is fantastic. 200 million people, the third largest user of internet in the world. So, where do I get to? So how does this dynamic evolution, which we've seen in a very short space of time, almost in my lifetime, to do with cotton classing? Well, this is the cotton classing 1.0, which I guess must have been in Liverpool by looking at the man's hat in 1619. This is cotton classing, is it 2.0? I'm not quite sure. This certainly is cotton classing 2.0. What am I telling you? This is 2.0. It is horrendously old-fashioned. So where is cotton classing 3.0? It seems to me that cotton has been left behind. And cotton classing, ladies and gentlemen, needs to be updated to version 3.0, which means on the basis of 100% sampling of all cotton. Such technology is not just faster, it produces vital information for breeders, farmers, traders, merchants, spinners, and of course, the final consumer. The data collected is available online for all stakeholders, farm to supply chain, governments, policymakers of the future. This is the future. We need to increase the use of this technology throughout India and the world. Not only India, this is the many times the world. We are still using old-fashioned trading systems like strict bidding 118, which is, to me, still version 2.0. The reliability of such measurements empowers the sellers to negotiate prices and build reputation as suppliers of cotton that is fully consistent in its measurement. This is vitally important for the future. And though you'll say to me, but they exist. Yes, we have cotton classing version 3.0, but it's not fully utilized. Neither in the world, neither in India. And in India particularly, where we're still only doing 2% classing of cotton. We all know the classing version 3. The Ooster, the Premier, the MAG. We all know these things. Why are we not using these and give them the potential that they have for our business? I made a sort of quotation, which I'd just like to read to you, that Steve Jobs would have told you today when he launched would have said, such technology will strengthen the sustainability of the cotton industry, the natural environment, and the delicate social relations within the cotton market as a whole, propelling the production and processing cotton as one of the cornerstones of the way it's conducting business within our global village. Good stuff. Such technology will strengthen the sustainability of the country. I repeat that. This technology will preserve our cotton industry. It is vital, and it is the only instrument which will stand up to the attack of synthetic fibers. I've been in the business for a long time, and I tell you, this is the only solution we have to defend our cotton business. If we do not take this technology advances, we shall have our cotton business, the white dog, being run into the ground by our synthetic manufacturers and their technology, which they're using, they're expanding consistently. There is never a day goes past when the manufacturers of polyester and other synthetic fibers do not come up with something new. How often we are coming with something new? We're still in version 2.0. I just wanted to say to you, just quickly, why this is important to the spinners, and not just it sounds nice for the trade. Cotton is made up, as you all know, of various factors, various characteristics. And we call them the intrinsic values of the cotton, which are measured by an HPI machine. They're not measured by the man. It's not the old idea that you can tell the micronair by listening to it, or you could, somebody told me you could tell the micronair by biting the seed. Well, you always do things, but the fact is it is very important. And you know, we've had this now, the third presentation about this, but I just put it here. It measures the grade, it measures the strength, it measures the length, it measures the length uniformity, it measures the micronair, it measures the maturity, and it measures the short fiber. All factors which, as a cotton spinner, we must have at our fingertips to produce a good yarn. Now, what's interesting for all of you who are spinners is in actual fact we can combine all these factors into a formula. I won't give you the formula because it's this long. But we can calculate it, and that's called the count strength product. There's also a spinning index, which is the same constant idea. It's the weight on each of those items which gives us a combination. And that is called CSP. I just wanted to show you this because how important it is. If I take the CSP calculation, it's using a cotton which is 110, which is 116, strength of 28 grams X, micronair 3.8, uniformity 80, RD 70, 76 plus P8, D4, maturity 83, a middling 31.4 with a micronair 3.8. With that you can see from that graph that the line goes up to 3.8, then after 3.8 begins to decline. As you know, low micronair in standard, we're not talking about extra long, in standard cotton, as the micronair becomes finer, it becomes less efficient for the spin. So with this cotton, I can produce an 18 count, an ordinary boring 18 count. If I change that, if I increase the strength to 31 gram text, you see immediately the improvement of the CSP. On the left-hand side, you have the CSP count. Don't worry about the number. It doesn't mean anything. It's a mathematical calculation that just shows the difference. By calculating that, I reach a higher CSP. Now, if I also increase the uniformity to 83, I increase the value of that cotton by proportionally the same amount. And if I do finally and say it's now a length of 1.13, which is 1.18, strength of 31 and a uniformity 83, I can now spin a 14 count yarn. Just by changing those characteristics, which the HPI has told us about, I can produce a yarn which is worth perhaps double its original value. Just want you to see how important this HPI is. It's not just the trick to try and catch people out. It is a real tool for the textile industry, and it is the future. But, and this is the big but for India, it depends on consistency. It's no good if I have one bale like that, I have all the bales to be the same. If they're not consistently in one laydown, if there are very big variations in the bale, I will not be able to achieve the objective I'm trying to achieve to make a 40 count. I'm going to have to go by the lowest common denominator. So though I may have bought the 31 gram text and 1.8 staple, I cannot spin the 40 if there are some bales which have some low characteristics, though the average might be perfect. The average is not the answer. An average does not help. It's like people, in simple terms, all of us, the Micronair 3.8 and the Micronair 4.5, the average is not the right Micronair. You will not get the right, you will get the inferior yarn if you mix the two together. So it's consistency important. And this, gentlemen, is the weakness we have with synthetic fibers. Synthetic fibers are consistent. They never change. They're always the same. When I buy something, I will get exactly what I bought. And there will be no variation. I can set my instruments, my machine, my spinning line, my frame, my draw frames exactly to the specifications of the raw material. If I have a material which is irregular, poorly classed, only a few bales classed, I'm going to have to set it to the settings to the lowest denominator, and therefore that cotton is worth much less to me, because I cannot achieve what I wanted to achieve with what I bought it for. So this is weakness. And that's why I think it is so important to understand this, that the polyester question we have is not a question of price. Don't be fooled by people saying, oh, it's the polyester, it's cheaper than cotton, and we're losing it. We're not losing business because of price. We're losing price because of quality, because of consistency to compete with polyester. Polyester will always be cheaper. If cotton goes down to 40 cents tomorrow, polyester will be at 30 cents. Polyester has only one line to work, has only cotton as a benchmark, nothing else. Oil price has very little to do with the polyester. They have to compete with cotton, so they have to be competitive, and they are oversupplied. Now, I just would like to leave a message with you, my enthusiasm for cast, that if Indian can reach cotton classing version 3.0, it would create a premium for Indian cotton. I always give the example, Korea, South Korea, one of the finest cotton buyers in the world, they don't buy Indian cotton. They buy Brazilian cotton, my cotton. But our cotton is inferior to yours. Brazilian cotton is inferior. It's not as beautiful as your cotton. So why do they buy that and they make it 50 count yarn? Because of the fact that Brazilian cotton is regular. It's every bale is blood, it's class. We could then compete, India could then compete on equal footing and not have the discount we have. I started this campaign when I was in Mumbai at the ICAC meeting, when I heard that the World Cotton announced that Indian cotton was a 6-cent discount. 6 cents discount for cotton that you've got, which is such beautiful cotton. Real shame. We need to improve that. I might tell you other countries are putting in similar programs. A number of countries are putting in programs that they're going to test cotton. I'm afraid if we don't keep up with this move, we will fall behind, and we need India to lead the cotton world front. The biggest producers, if cotton is going to survive, we need India. It will give a database of information, testing results, which will help with traceability. Traceability is going to become an enormously important thing in the future. Retailers want to know where it came from, what happened to it, where did it go, because the customer, they say, wants to know this. Traceability is important. We will have a database of best practices. Where's the best cotton grown? Who is producing the best cotton? Why is the best cotton there? To encourage people not producing the best cotton. This also will allow us to eventually easily submit cotton to the MCX exchange, or of course to even the world contract. It gives us, it places us on the international market. To end, I just like the quotation I received, an email from one of the directors of ITMF, who said to me, cotton is losing ground every second. In 50 years, no one will wear cotton anymore. Like today, no one wears linen anymore. This is a quotation I received. And he said the question, which he suggests will be a title for one of our conferences, is the textile industry ready for the post-cotton age? What a horrendous question. Of course, my answer was, with instrument testing, there will be no post-cotton age, because cotton age will survive forever. Thank you all very much.
thanks for the good presentation. And any short questions for the while to be followed up later on? Okay, then we will continue with the next speaker. And
Henry, you forgot to talk about round drives. So, please mention the round drives.
This is Terry is my guru, so I have to do what he said. In fact, the chairman of the I chairman of the CSITC, which is called the competition. What's the name? Got to say CSITC. Commercial, thank you. Commercial instrument testing of cotton. Was a big fight I had with Terry because he didn't want to introduce the word commercial. He wanted it to be instrument testing of cotton. And I fought with him for a long time to say that it should be commercial because no one instrument is going to actually give exactly the right measurement. So there must be some sort of variation, some sort of play between. So we imagine that what is doing CSITC, which I mentioned earlier, is promoting the idea of classing cotton with instruments. And we have a program with round trials, which is comparing instrument, people have instrument tests from all over the world. I think we have 160 different laboratories who will take part in this on this quarterly basis. And we analyze, we send them samples together with the USDA. This is a project run by ICAC, but in coordination with the Roman Fiber Institute and the USDA. And we send the samples to the individual laboratories who are doing the testing. They make the tests. They send the results back to the Roman Institute and the USDA, who then analyze the results. And with that results, we can determine not only the correct information from the results, but also the repeatability. Repeatability is perhaps the most important in instrument testing. Repeatability is perhaps the most important. So that is what we do, and then we publish every quarter the results that we have. And I'm very pleased to say that these results have continually to improve. We now have a very, very high correlation between all the members who take part. And I know that many of my Indian friends here take part in this also. They also very loyally support this subject. I encourage everybody to take part in this because it will allow the accusation of people that these instruments are unreliable to show that in actual fact that they are reliable within a very reasonable tolerance. Does that answer your question? Thank you.
That answered question more than I expected. The last speaker, instead of Mr. Amit Thakkar, it will be delivered by Mr. Anupam Kaushik, who is equally well versed with the topic and the presentation. Brief introduction. Mr. Anupam Kaushik is the Deputy CEO of National Collateral Management Services Limited. He brings in a wealth of experience for having worked in commodities domain for almost 15 years out of his overall experience of 25 years. His skill sets comprise of commodity trading, risk management, logistics and supply chain management, organization and business development, etc. He is an electrical engineer with post-graduation in rural development from Institute of Rural Management, Anand, Gujarat, and is a fellowship in international cotton trading. Mr. Anupam Kaushik, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an area which is quite popular and well used in international commodity trade channels, and it is formerly known as structured trade finance. We have been hearing about this kind of a structure sometime in a different name called off-balance sheet finance, which many commodity trading companies and commodity user companies do use in their managing the commodity exposures and their requirements. NCML has been trying to develop this product for the last 2-3 years in many other commodities, And recently we have had success in repeating the same in cotton as well. So I would like to share that how the structured trade finance or off-balance sheet funding, as we know, can actually help and strengthen the trade participants and the users of cotton, be the spinning mills or the interior textile mills, as well as ginners. NCML is promoted by Fairfax Financial Holdings of Canada, and the other shareholders in this company is HAFED, which is a cooperative federation of State of Haryana, Punjab National Bank, Corporation Bank, Bank of India, and Indian Bank. These are the banks with whom we partner to pursue this structured trade finance or off-balance sheet funding, as we call it. This is the entire gamut of the financial institutions, not limited to public sector banks or private sector banks, NBFCs, whatever you name it, they are partnering in this process of building this product. This is the client list that we have been engaging with in order to service this product. And there is the entire gamut of people who are using structured trade finance in various commodities. These are the commodities that we've handled across the length and breadth of the commodities in Rabi and Kharif. The list is quite vast, and NCML has experience and expertise to handle all these commodities in whichever trade channel it is expected to. NCML has got almost more than 10 years of experience in handling commodities for customers, for farmers, for processors, and as well as for users. The 4-5 business segment that we operate is supply chain management, storage and preservation, collateral management, testing and certification, and weather intelligence. The first 4 verticals are part of the handling structured trade finance, which are integral to any structured trade, any structure of trade finance, because it would involve all these 4 components at various stages. NCML is present all over India. This is the footprint in terms of our warehousing presence. We are present at 1,073 locations, 102 commodities. We have got VAT registrations for 15 states, more than 29,000 clients who have been using trade finance in various methods. The asset under management in various commodities is around 143 billion INR, 2,200 people, feet on street executives, and 29 multi-licenses. Again, this infrastructure is required to pursue any structured trade finance required by any commodity participant. This is the corporate footprint. NCML has got 39 locations, and most of these locations are primarily in cotton intensive states and geographies. Now, what is structured trade finance? Structured trade finance is an alternative means of providing trade financing facility so as to overcome the difficulty of obtaining conventional payment guarantees. When the balance sheet is fully leveraged, if the balance sheet is fully leveraged, or the client is interested in increasing his exposure beyond what his CC limit permits, that is where the structured trade finance comes in, because here the underlying is not the balance sheet, underlying is the commodity itself. Unlike traditional financing, STF looks to the flow of the goods and their origins, with repayment realized from the import and sale of commodity in domestic market. NCML assessment is primarily related to the company's ability to perform. That's the simple thing, is that the person who is taking a structured trade finance is in the business for fulfilling some obligation, either on the buy side or on the sell side. We're focusing on the individual transaction structure and the company's business performance capability as opposed to the balance sheet. STF provides an alternative and cost-effective financing tool to companies in the commodity arena. Now, how does STF work? This is a typical flowchart of a STF in import market. There is an existing obligation of an importer with any counterparty. NCML will take that existing exposure or a future exposure in the import market on its books, clear the goods in its name, and keep it either in the bonded warehouses or in the non-bonded warehouses, depending on the tax regime, because multiple commodities have differential tax treatment. So this is a universal structure, and with some margins. There would be margins depending on the value at which it is being funded. If the values are low enough, then obviously the margin requirements would also be reasonably low. But if the commodity prices are ruling at the higher percentile of the last 5 years price band, the margin requirements would be of slightly higher order. Whenever the NCML will have a bilateral agreement with the trade partner, the trade finance partner, and whenever he requires, as per his requirement to discharge an obligation, he will pay the full value of the proportionate quantity, whatever quantity he wants to discharge, and NCML will release the goods to his order. So this is a structure which we are using in edible oils, and we have already done close to 400 crore rupees of this in this financial year itself in edible oils and edible nuts, in some cases some exotic spices. Cotton also we are trying, we are almost on the verge of closing this one import trade structure with a large Indian mill, and we hope that this is one route with which companies, without using their balance sheet or without strengthening the balance sheet, without leveraging the balance sheet, can actually participate in fulfillment of their obligations for commodities. The same thing if it comes to the domestic market, we call it off-balance sheet funding, vendor managed inventory as we call it. The goal of off-balance sheet financing is to reduce or maintain a company's debt at a below prescribed level, so that the debt to equity ratio is low, and when a company is a favorable ratio, the company appears to be good credit risk. So a lot of companies use this method to keep their to improve their return on capital employed and return on equity by keeping a lot of their inventory off their balance sheets. The asset or inventory here it is cotton bales purchased for consumption at a later date remains in the book of vendor. NCML acts as a vendor. Whatever exposure the trade finance expectant is willing to carry, that purchase will be shown in the books of NCML. Off-balance sheet financing helps the company to preserve its borrowing line for other critical and efficient functions. And off-balance sheet funding ensures proper due diligence, checks and controls and compliances pertaining to the borrower and the respective state laws where the cargo is stored. This is the typical process flow in off-balance sheet funding. NCML and borrower enter into a VMI agreement covering all terms of the trade. The borrower decides the supplier and the purchase price of cotton. The borrower remits the margin money to the tune of 20-25%. In some cases, when the price were at around 31,000, the margin was even lower at around 10-15% also, because the margin is a function of the value and it is not a constant as far as NCML is concerned. We have explained this to banks that many of the banks keep the margin percentage as fixed, whereas in some banks we have been able to successfully demonstrate that the margin percentage is a function of the price at which the commodity is funded. NCML purchases the cotton bales and remits 100% of the invoice value to the supplier. The title of the cargo purchased rests with NCML and the cargo is stored under the custody of NCML warehouse. On the due date, as per the agreement or the requirement of the borrower, NCML releases the cargo on receipt of the proportionate amount from borrower, inclusive of all charges. So far, we have done close to 900 crore rupees of this funding, again in various commodities, and this year cotton has been a good component of that VMI or off-balance sheet funding, and it is growing. The whole point is that now more and more banks are encouraging textile borrowers or jilling borrowers to move their requirement of funding their working capital from CC limits to vendor managed inventory or warehouse agent finance. NCML also offers end-to-end supply chain solutions for procurement, sampling and grading, logistics, inventory management and dispatch management. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions related to? Yes, sir. We would prefer you to come here because you cannot hear.
Anupam, lovely thing you said, restricted finance. That's I mean, without over balance sheet, one can borrow through your company. What is the rate of interest? You have not mentioned that. To charge to the borrower when somebody borrows money from your company or whatever the arrangement
The rate of interest is again a function of what is the prevailing rate in the market, and it is always at a markup of that value, because obviously the companies who are requiring to borrow in this fashion are not able to access the market. So obviously there will be some markup, but it is linked to the prime lending rate of the economy.
Can we just
We have been doing anywhere between 12.5% to 13.5% depending on the commodity profile and the risk profile of the commodity.
thank you.
Anyone else? While people are thinking, I would like to add one or two of my inputs into the session as well. Our topic of today was the cultural practices in trading cotton in the subcontinent. Remaining within the preview of the topic, I could say or put a humble submission that contract is also part of the practice of cotton. The trade, Bangladesh historically had no cotton, so they had been importing cotton since a long time. But the trade between Pakistan and India started only 15 or 17 years before. Previously, there was almost no trade or no cotton flowing in between the two countries. Initially, it started with export from Pakistan to India, and then when Pakistan textile economy picked up and we increased our capacity in the textiles and we become an importing country, then India became a seller to Pakistan. The contractual terms were not very clear when the trade started, though everybody knew ICA rules, and we had two set of rules, one the Cotton Association of Indian rules, Karachi Cotton Association rules. But of course we had access to the IC rules. But till now, I see, because we are in the controlling business as well, and at many times we are shared the contracts between buyers and sellers whenever there are any disputes or problems in weight or quality or technical. Or even people approach us when there is matter of the absolute technical matters, when there is no shipment at all or when there is delayed shipment. So I see the development of the contractual terms, there is still some to be done. It has improved a lot, everybody understands, but since it's a huge volume of trade between the two countries and we see new shippers coming up every year, every month, though the mills, it is hard to put up a mill, so the mills remain the same mostly, except for few expansions. So at least the new entrants to the field need to be very precise on the contractual terms, because if they put any term which is vague, then that in case of any dispute would end up with nothing, and they will be fight and it will be hard to settle unless both sides are very receptive to the resolution process. But if there is a dispute, then the vague contractual terms put the contracting parties into very difficult position, which I have seen time and again. So I would say that while making the contracts, and this is to be built into the culture, we have a cotton culture to uphold, and now with the global village, the culture is becoming the same. It is no longer an Indian cotton culture or a Pakistani cotton culture, it is being intermingled, or even with the Bangladesh. So yes, this is very important. It is as important for a trader, I would say for a person, a Muslim, Quran is important, a Bible for others, Gita for others. Contract is so important for a businessman that it, if not equal, it holds a very sacred position. So my advice, let us put into culture the best contracting practices. It may be based on any rules or regulations, but everything must be clear. And with this, may I have the liberty to put up one or two questions to my respectable colleagues who have made presentations. Mr. Greg, you have talked of, in fact, your half part of the presentation was about the inspections services which you do within India. Now there is some kind of difference in the trade between Pakistan and India, just for my understanding. While the controlling services are required within India in the local domestic trade. It is not required in the local domestic trade of Pakistan. Where is the difference? Why is it yes here, why is it no there?
I have a very hard time hearing. I apologize.
No. May I repeat?
I can hear you go that way. Could you?
Yeah, okay. I will repeat the question. You are providing controlling services, inspection services for domestic trade within India for raw cotton. In Pakistan, the controllers are not there. The domestic trade goes on its own. So what is the difference you think between Pakistan and India? Why is it practical here? Why is it practical not in Pakistan? If we have an answer.
I'll certainly try to have an answer. It's a very good question and not one that I truly have prepared for, but tradition may be a part of that. Custom that traditionally being performed that way in India. Perhaps it's something that could be considered in Pakistan. I don't know what the natural trade or if there's any variances in weight or quality or moisture and so forth in Pakistan on the trade. We'd have to analyze that. I don't know.
Let us hear from some Pakistani or Dhiren bhai. Can you give an insight into it?
So that's a very good question, Naik sir. And I visit Pakistan very often. And the reason behind the difference.
So why don't you come up and speak from here? We can deviate in the end of the session, Dhiren bhai. Aa jao par.
No, I would like to add on a few comments on this because I totally agree with Dhiren bhai that it's not a matter of why it's not being done, it's when it's going to be done. Because thing is, right now the spinners in Pakistan, right? Because I am also related to local business in Pakistan as well, and we are buying local cotton in Pakistan as well for the mills. And we have a lot of personnel going around all over the country selecting cotton and loading the cotton for the mills. Thing is that in Pakistan right now the mills are doing the job of a spinning mill, they're doing the job of a controller, and they're doing the job of a merchant as well. They're keeping cotton stocks for around the season. They're sending around their representatives across the country, selecting cotton. So they are doing three jobs at a time, I guess. So already we have a couple of merchants which have established their offices in Pakistan, and I think some more merchants are also working on this, and probably within a few years this might change, and we'll be having the same practice in Pakistan as well.
So the moral of the story is stop trading cotton, stop stealing cotton, get into the petroleum.
I would add one more thing, one funny part.
I respectfully disagree, maybe a little bit with that. But, at the end of the day, I think everybody in this room, if you don't mind me just adding a little touch to that, but everybody in this room, our lives depend on cotton. It depends on the weather, it depends on the rain, it depends on the seed, it depends on the plant growing. It depends on the consumer wanting that piece of fiber coming out of the ground, and every person in this room touches it in one manner or another. Every year we lose more and more market share to synthetic fibers. It's evident. I mean, we see it every day. And thankfully we have meetings like this to figure out more efficient ways that we can trade cotton and address these issues. If you have spinning industry in Pakistan that is doing three jobs that is completely inefficient, you have international controllers that are well respected around the world that provide services like that. Utilize that. There's a lot of them out there. They're all good. They're good people. Save your businesses, reduce your risk, and spread that out throughout the industry so that we can become more efficient and we can maybe reverse that trend of shrinking market share. The only way to do that is through efficiencies and by coming together at forums like this and finding ways to do it.
So this is the age of outsourcing. Everybody needs to focus down on the core business and outsource everything possible. This is what the Western world and the American side is doing. This is what will happen in our countries as well. But maybe as a joke, I can tell you that one of my friends last year, owner of a textile mill in Punjab, he got up and he said that, yeah, I have only one missing link, which is that what I am not, he was doing everything like Rayan said, that doing everything himself as a company. And he said that I am outsourcing the transport, and next month I heard that he bought 3 or 4 trucks. So this also happens. And one question, Dhirubhai, we still have 7 minutes plus 10 minutes, the grace period. And may I have the liberty to ask a question? Your presentation on HBI talked of inconsistent cotton. Problematic for HBI. Not problematic, but yes, there is a problem. When the cotton remains inconsistent in quality, the HBI results will not fully cover it to some extent, unless we go 100%, which we cannot. So, which will come first? The finishing of the inconsistent cotton taken over by HBI, or HBI improving the technology to the extent that inconsistent cotton remains? The inconsistent cotton is difficult for HBI, and we cannot do 100% sampling and testing for at least Pakistani and Indian cotton. So, will in the future, will the HBI improve to take care of the inconsistent cotton, or will the cotton have to be improved to be fit for HBI? We have such models.
The answer is, of course, the cotton will have to improve to increase the HBI. The thing about consistency is it's not so much the consistency within one bale. There is always variability and consistency in one bale. The problem is the consistency in a laydown, in a spinning mill. If you get 120 bales and there are various bales inside it, then you can't control your process. Within one bale, we can accept there is some variation. The top of the plant will be different from the bottom of the plant. That's acceptable. The problem is if you only do 2% glassing, then you're going to have 98 bales which you don't know what they are. You assume that they are the same than the sample made. And in the past, you know, when we looked at version 2.0, that was the case, because the gins took great care to separate the good cotton from the bad cotton and gin it separately. Today, everybody gins everything together, and therefore you can no longer be sure what you've got. So it's the system has to change. I would say we can go to keep 5% glassing, provided there is rigid separation at the ginning stage before ginning.
Thank you very much. Any remaining questions?
Yes.
Good.
If I don't stand up, then I'm not done. So I know where to stand.
Yes.
Fantastic presentation, Andrew. Thank you very much. And this is what is new normal. The beginning of new normal you have triggered. On behalf of the entire textile industry of India, I surely give you a word that this is the way it should be. If we have to fight polyester, if we have to get the correct valuation of cotton, and we would surely look forward to Wakefield's or any other situation where somebody is going to offer us cotton where the consistency of cotton is spelled out, transparently told, so that we don't repeat the thing which the ginner or the seller has to do it and then we do it in the factory. 2% sampling is really not sufficient. We have to do 10, 20, 30% when the cotton comes in our factory. And if we are investing large number of spindles, we are buying large number of HBI also. It is an investment which one would have avoided and put more spindles or put more technology in place, but we have no choice. So for every 100,000 spindle we are buying and we are putting one Ooster 1,000. Now, that costs huge amount of money. And in terms of the CSP, what you say, and which gives us the value by changing, it's a fantastic scientific thing. And clearly, yes, that is something which we all need to drive, and the spinner and the production people would surely love to enhance the value and create, whether I can run the same from 30, manufacture 30 counts, and somebody who is able to manage the characteristics of cotton well and put it the spinning setting well, surely he would have the edge, competitive edge by spinning 40 count of the similar or better quality also. So like CSP, one of the things which came from our production team is that let us try and do SCI grouping, that is spinning consistency index, which is calculated again with a formula which takes into account all the major characteristics, length, strength, micronian, uniformity, plus B and RD. So in the new Worcester 1000, this SCI is available, but only problem is that we need to test all the bales, create the good grouping, which if it is avoided and done at the front end, that is really good. And last question, even though India has invested big time in modernizing the ginning factories, somehow we do not have the mechanism of drawing samples as scientifically and as easily what we used to see cookie cutter or the modern gins in Brazil or in US or in Australia. So drawing the sample, not properly drawing the sample could also give lots of creative things. But thank you very much. It was like version 3.0. With your support, with all of us together, we will surely do it. And that is the new normal I always believe in.
Anyone else with the question? So, while there is no question, and while the event will last till 10:30 p.m. or somewhere around that at night, the formal session ends today, so it would be not out of the place to take the liberty of, since I am chairing the last session, so on behalf of all the participants present here or not present here, those who have come to join the Goa Cotton Conference, I am very thankful to Cotton Association of India, especially Mr. Dhiren and his team. They had given us the opportunity to attend this August gathering, meet old friends. The beauty of the cotton bird is the same faces. So even if there is a new face now, it becomes old in the next event. So cotton is a very closely knit society. I would say rather it is a closed society. You don't work with anyone you don't know. So it is always good to see friends, faces, make new friends, make acquaintances in the cotton world. This was a great event, a great place, and especially the warm hospitality which we ever get when we visit India. You have kept up the tradition. You have given us the reason to come to you again. And especially I would thank on behalf of the Pakistan delegation. I see a few members sitting here. You had went out of the way to help us in getting the visas, which were a mission impossible. Thank you very much, Cotton Association of India, and thank you very much. Dhiren bhai, would you like to say something? No?
Come on,
Thank you, Baba. We end up with
So like some mentioned, thank you